Hi, welcome to Sister Witches. This is our first podcast. My name is Kat, and I am a tarot card reader, an artist, and I also do crystal healing. So we're going to have a crystal healing session at the end of our podcast today. I would like to introduce you to my sister witch, Kitty.
Hi, I'm Kitty, and I'm also a crystal healer, and as well as an astrologer and a feline Reiki practitioner and a relationship therapist. And Kat and I have known each other for well over a decade, and so we decided it was time for us to share some of our metaphysical secrets with other Coven
secrets.
Coven secrets.
Very exciting. So I'm going to pull a goddess card for all the witch goddesses who are going to be tuning into this episode. So we're going to start off by pulling a couple of cards, and these cards are going to be relevant to you whenever you happen to listen to this podcast, just like they are relevant to me and Kitty right now. So I'm going to be pulling card, and I got Aphrodite. Ooh, Aphrodite. So the inner goddess. Awaken the goddess within you through dance, self-care, and appreciating your divinity. Awesome.
We're going to be talking about some of those things. And I think that's really kind of what this is all about, is awakening your inner goddess.
It is, and I know you are going to be giving us some self-care tips in regards to beauty, which I'm very excited about.
I am drawing a tarot card for this session, and this is my kitty saying hi. And I'm drawing from a new deck that just came out. It's the Crow Through the Veil. And this was from an Indiegogo campaign. And so I just received this deck. It's really beautiful.
I love that you support decks on Indiegogo. That's so awesome.
This is the perfect card. Okay, the Queen of Pentacles. And of course, I'm sure it's backwards. Okay, so the Queen of Pentacles. And so here she is on her throne. So it's all about the wise woman and her
financial abundance.
Her abundance, all of her abundance and prosperity, exactly. And there's her bunny showing all the new growth and the red flowers, which is very relevant to this Venus season that we're in. So perfect. So this is like Kitty's, I'm sorry, like Kat said, either tonight or later, whenever you happen to see this video, that will be pertinent to you.
Yeah, so it's because anybody who's listening to our first podcast is going to become like a rockin' goddess within their career and their finances. I mean, so that's the Queen of Pentacles and Aphrodite. So Aphrodite, what I love about like witches is that it's such a healthy connection to our sexuality. Like sexuality is so repressed in the mainstream, but like, you know, witches, we respect goddesses and goddess energy, and I feel like a lot of this movement to me, and I know to you, has been about reclaiming our sexuality within the power of nature and like using crystals like I have here. So
yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is that we have been taught here in this country that it's all behind closed doors. It's all very secretive. It's not connected to the rest of our life. And I think that what I've discovered, and I believe what you've discovered in the last few years especially, is that it is connected to the rest of our life. Embracing your sexuality is embracing the rest of you, you know? It's like that, the pleasure and self-love and appreciation for who you are. It affects every aspect of your life.
Yeah,
it's its own kind of magic. It's like
it's so
not alchemy.
And I
right?
know when I use like the crystal, like the yoni eggs or the crystal wands in the morning, like it gives me so much energy. It's really invigorating. And when I stop, it's like a major drop in my energy levels. So I myself have to get back into my regular crystal morning practices.
I'm actually, I've let things slide just a bit. So it's time to get back into that. Because it is. And it's like you were saying, it's part of everything. So everything's connected, everything. And to get to the top of your power, it's a way to do that. And that's what we're also trying to do, is bring in and embrace our power as goddesses, as women, as witches, as...
And I really think like one of the main reasons we're so out of alignment as a society is because of our lack of connection with nature. But by being like more closely in tune with the crystal energy, that's bringing us back into that natural energy of nature, and we need that. We need it, because otherwise, like the mainstream, everything that's around us, it's a really heavy energy that we're kind of trying to go up against, and we need the support, and the crystals are that support. I feel.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's the antidote. I don't know about you, but
the medicine.
It is. I've had so many people in the last 2 weeks tell me they are so exhausted and they're so overwhelmed and they're so tired and they're so burned out from so much. It's collective. It's everything that's been going on, that's out there everywhere, and we're absorbing it. And we're absorbing it through each other and through TV waves and radio waves and everything. The internet, where every single thing you open up, there it is. And it's not that you should avoid reality, but it's that you have to have an antidote to all of that. And of course, that can be found with Mother Nature. Through grounding with crystals and opening yourself up, and working with whatever herbs or oils or magic, whatever crafting you do can open you up to that, or art.
Yes, definitely. So I know we definitely plan on talking more in the future about how we can use the crystals much more in our daily practice and ritual. But what were we going to focus on today?
Well, we had some topics that we were going to go through, and I know that, did you mention that at the end we're going to do
yes.
Okay.
I think so, yes. So we are going to do a crystal healing that'll just be about 5 minutes at the very end. So I hope everyone can stay tuned for that. We're doing garnet. Garnet is the crystal we're going to be meditating with today.
Explain why that is before we get there. So we have some topics we were going to talk about. And so let's just start with maybe the question that would be foremost on people's minds, which is, the name of our podcast here is Sister Witches. So do you consider yourself a witch, and what does that mean to you? So why don't you go ahead and start with that, and then I'll answer after.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess I would say I do consider myself to be a witch, though I think that being a witch just means somebody who is in touch with their personal power, is in touch with their own connection to the divine, to nature's energies, and that theoretically any and everyone could be a witch if they would, tune into those aspects of themselves. So some people are going to have more of a natural inclination towards the esoteric arts, like ourselves. We've always been just very interested in tarot cards and astrology, and we don't try to like rationalize it or downplay it or belittle it ever. We're just like, oh my god, this is so fascinating, and we take that dive and we get into it, and we love it. But I do feel that for me, yes, I am a witch. I hope that more and more women will be in the process of reclaiming their inner witch, because I feel that that's reclaiming our inner power. Yeah. And that men are witches too. And any man who who lets his intuition guide him, who is overwhelmed and awed by the power of nature and can channel that power of nature to heal themselves or to heal others. That to me, that's all the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of definitions out there for witch. And some people consider it a religion, and that's tied into like European tradition and that sort of thing.
Paganism.
Yeah, Wiccan, that sort of thing. And some people, I don't know, like associate witchcraft or being a witch with something demonic or satanic or something. I think that, I do consider myself a witch. I have for as long as I can remember. And it's similar to what you're saying, Kat. I think it's a reclaiming of self. I think it's a very ancient female tradition that came from healers. I think that one thing people seem to forget is that women have the ability to do incredible magic. We bring life into the world, and perhaps the biggest spellcraft of all. And that we have all of this power, all of this inner power, and I think that's very frightening to the world, and which is why witch has become associated with being, a bad thing. But I think it is about inner power. I think it's about the divine feminine, and I don't mean that in a binary way. That can be, as you said, a man can be a witch, a woman can be a witch. It's accessing that divine feminine within yourself. It's celebrating that part of you that's ancestral, and I think it's also it's tapping into your intuition, and your ability to be open to the universe and whatever it brings. And I do think some people are just like you were saying too. I think some people are just more naturally in tune with that, to the point, where like from like a young age that you're interested in certain things, and then I think a lot of our society shuts people down for that. And so, but I think everybody, to one extent or another, has the gift of intuition and of knowing things, and it's whether you choose to tap into it and let yourself know that or not. Let yourself be with it, become it. Yeah.
So I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think you brought up an interesting point, which is like this kind of like historical fear of witches, and I actually think that goes into this dichotomy of patriarchy and this need for patriarchy to have control over people. And say, like, I was trying to think the other day, like, how has patriarchy become so systemic? And I mean, I don't want to like bash certain religions or anything, but I really think in a lot of religions, this idea of like priesthood, and that you can only access the divine through certain men, right? Yeah. Is kind of this opposite. And when we pay attention to like the current media and a lot of the corruption that exists even within the Catholic Church, I think that kind of helps show us that really like how we are going to do things, if we're going to do things in a pure way, or if we're going to do them in a negative, demonic, distorted type of way, is free for all and free for everyone in anything. So like you can have a witch who's like a white witch, who's connecting in with pure source, and that's a totally pure practice. Or you can have a witch who's using dark energies, just like you can have a Catholic priest who genuinely wants to be a channel of God for the people that come to their service, where you can have another one who has been abused and molested and is continuing on that distortion. So I think that is just a really interesting topic.
Use that power that he's been given and twist it and morph it. I think it's interesting that one of the things that seems to be happening in this current administration, and it's spreading out like wildfire, is the distortion of Christianity. It's like so. If all of so it seems to be the case that a lot of people who consider themselves Christians are now okay with things that are not of their belief system. In the if you look at the 10 Commandments, or you look at the New Testament or whatever, and so you have people who are working in and the patriarchy working in so much greed and so much power and so much rejection, but yet that's being embraced by what should be a beautiful religion or beautiful thought system and philosophy. And I think the only way to reclaim is to strip down, and go back to the beginning. Go back to the earth.
What I love, ironically, about the Trump administration and like the kind of affront of all the terrible things that are happening in the world is that I feel like it's really pushing a lot of people inward to have to find their own system of ethics. Because when you are trying to be good at your religion or whatever, and then it's all this corruption becomes so evident, or there's just all these ways where corruption, right, is just, it's blatant. We can't even pretend that things work when they're not working, or that things are pure when they're clearly very dark. That I think that it really is bringing out the shadow of the collective and helping us to go inward, and I think that is the flip side of kind of all the darkness that is coming to light.
Right? That's the gift. I think it's interesting along that line. Do you remember when during the campaign for this election, and Susan Sarandon made this statement about, she wasn't saying go vote for Trump. She was saying, if it happens, it might not be the worst thing, because what it will do is cause this to happen. That's happening. Mm-hmm. It will cause the uprising that people will finally say, okay, all right, I've really had enough this time, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And they're going to go to the streets, and they're going to start protesting. Yeah. And then you can have, it'll be a time when people are willing to finally really, really listen and dig in deep, go in with inward to themselves, as you were saying, dig in deep. And then, we can have, people like, Beto O'Rourke rise up and go, but I don't want to play any of the games. And people can stand behind him, and we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, and I think that's also part of the return to metaphysics that's been going on. Right now, it's like more tarot decks are being sold than they have been since 1970 or something. There's a complete, and if you, and as an astrologer, being very in tune with that community, and one of the things right now that I have discovered is that is where the hope is. It's like when I'm involved in an astrological conversation with my peers, it seems to be that's where the hope can be found. That by going back to the simplest form, looking up to the sky, seeing how the planetary transits are happening, then we're going to be able to see how this thing is going to resolve. We're going to be able to go back.
Yeah, it's just, we're getting to such a mayday, a collective mayday, that really it gets to a point where only the metaphysical and the magical represent hope, right? Because the scientific and the logical, we're just bombing that shit. What? We're polluting the earth? Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got all of these people who are still fighting over what to call climate change, right? And still going, well, how can it be global warming when it's colder? And all these bizarre conversations, and then is it man-made or not? we have to discuss this, and the whole world is going, what's wrong with you? And so so where else can it's like everything is failing us, and so all you can do to get hope is to like go inward and look at the metaphysical, look at magic, look at alchemy, and know that I don't know how it's going to happen,
and recognize that we're spiritual beings with human bodies, right?
Exactly.
And that if we can start to awaken more and more people to that truth, then we can make that collective shift. And I mean, I ultimately believe that right now, collectively, we believe in matter over mind. But if we can shift that conception to mind over matter, then we're gods and goddesses of our world. We are the creators.
We are the creators. And I think that's what, in the most simplest form, that's what we have to do every day. It's like we can't control what the old white patriarchy men are doing, but we can control what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're believing. And, to be able to have, I think, this ultimate kind of faith is, I know it's going to be okay. I don't know how it's going to get there, but I know that me being true, authentic, transparent, honest, loving is going to help it.
And I don't want to throw all those old white men under the bus. My grandpa is an old white man, and he shifts with me. So don't leave them out of the conversation. Include them in the conversation.
I think men are awesome. I think that this corruption has been going on
is systemic. Yeah, the corruption is
systemic, and it's the problem. And and there's a lot of reasons for that. And okay, so let's go on then. So the second thing is that we were going to talk about was what process or ritual do we partake in prior to divination?
I love that question. I really love that question. So I, in the past, I guess 8 months, like I've been a meditator for most of my adult life. Like I practiced Buddhism. I was really into meditation for a long time. Then all the corruption within the Buddhist religion, I kind of fell away from that. I really don't like political corruption, so I can't like stay with that. So more recently, I started meditating with Mas Sajadi. I know you know him, and doing like shadow work with Teal Swan. And what I really like about those meditations is that it reminds me to constantly be grounding my energy into the earth's energy. So like breathing in the earth's energy, and then also connecting to pure source. So what I love about being a tarot card reader is that before I do any read and between reads for clients is that I always take a couple minutes to consciously connect myself with the earth's energy. So like I imagine myself breathing in earth energy from the core of the earth all the way up into myself. And then I imagine myself from my heart up into the heavens, connecting with pure source. And I know a lot of my teachers have made a big point of being sure when we connect with energies to request pure source, because there are a lot of energies in the world, and there are dark energies that would love to control us or make contracts with us. And so we have to be pure. We have to be clear when we connect that we're asking to connect with pure source. So I always do that between my reads. And interestingly enough, if I forget, so if I'm like using my tarot cards and asking questions and I'm a little distracted and I forget to connect with earth and pure source energies, my cards will tell me that.
They will tell you? Yeah.
Yes.
Did they just come up with like nonsensical answers?
Sometimes I'll get cards that will be like overwhelmed, distracted, not clear thinking, cards that represent those things. And at first I'll be like, this doesn't make sense with the question I asked. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm distracted. Right. I wasn't connecting.
Cards are shouting at you.
Yes.
Do something.
They're very in conversation with me.
Yeah. Which is like an amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's Fantastic. I have learned. I have a lot of ritual. Depending on what I'm doing. I'm really of the ritual school of, like I need certain, not need, but I prefer to have certain talisman around me.
Can you explain what a talisman is?
Sure. Okay. So, for instance, here we go. So this is the crystal that I use for doing any kind of divination. Okay. And so this is a quartz becoming an opal. And so it's in itself like frozen alchemy, right? And so I have like charged this to work with me. So I always have it when I'm doing an astrology read, astrology research, tarot card read, whatever. I carry it with me all the time. Hold it a lot. When I'm being read, I have it with me, to like. Another thing too, and I don't know if you've done this, but another thing too, I'm a black obsidian and I are like this, And one thing that I do, and this is a witchy secret, this is a coven secret, is when I'm going for a tarot card read, I will wear my black obsidian yoni.
Yes.
Because I want to be as open to spirit as possible. I'm not going there for fun and games. I want to be read, so and it seems to make a huge difference. Another talisman I have is this little ritual knife, and it's just it's key to a divinity that I work with.
Okay, so talisman are like dedicated
dedicated objects, like ritual objects that it's like a good luck charm or something of that sort, and you can have them for who knows how many reasons.
So you have an amplifying crystal, you have like your shadow work obsidian type crystal.
And so, and I have crystals that open up water element, like fluorite. And so to increase the water element so that I'm more open. But the main thing I do now, I also use anointing oils for certain things that I make. But the main thing I do now always is shield and protection recitation, because I've been working in a shop for a little while doing some work out there, and I work with a lot of different people. And even out of the shop, it really, I guess, doesn't even pertain to that. When you're going in to do divination and you're opening yourself up like that to pure spirit, or to work with the divinity, that you work with, you are opening yourself up, like you said. Things can just come in, and if you have anything ready that's coming from a client, or it's just leftover energy, or if someone out there is doing negative things to you, or just it's lurking in the surface, I don't know, but shielding and protection ritual, I think, is incredibly important, so that you can be,
I totally agree. I had to have a lot of work done in order to strengthen my energy field, because I'm an empath, so I will absorb energies really easily. Like, people will try to cling on to me energetically. I think I have a very nurturing type energy that people like. And I actually had to work with my teacher, Moss, quite a bit. And he really helped me strengthen my energy field. And now it's so interesting to me, because when people try to cling on to me energetically, I actually feel energy bouncing off of me. Like literally bouncing off of me, because I'm no longer susceptible to absorbing it. So definitely people who are new at getting into like divination practices, I would say it's something, because we're not taught more about it, that something to definitely focus on is to be sure you're connecting with pure source, and to consciously work on what Kitty's talking about, which is strengthening your energy field. Be that like meditations or recitations on consciously being aware of like our energy bubble, which is literally like a bubble around our body. If our arms are stretched all the way out, all the way around our whole body. Just like being aware of that and being sure that that's really strong so that, no, I mean, the people who were clinging on to me would be relatives, children I used to take care of. It can be anything. It doesn't even have to be, something demonic or otherworldly. It can be,
and it can
also be your mother.
Well, exactly. I mean, I have a couple of situations in my life with people who are, relatives that I love, but it's very negative, very toxic, and they don't wish me well, And so I too had to go through I went through a lot of cleansings, and I still do. I'm very, very big into doing detoxes. In fact, are you going to do it this year, Kat? The big 2-week spiritual detox from Olympics that we did last year.
Oh, when we cleaned out my house and I realized I had a couple spirits in here.
I will definitely be doing that this year because, I've been working so much more.
Maybe we should go over that in one of our podcasts, what people need to do to...
Absolutely. I'm going to start it on the full moon in October, so before we get there, we should go over that. You can do it from any full moon to new moon. So as long as it's full to me, it can be
good to know. Okay,
but yeah, and I think it's very important to do that. I do. My reader Jeremiah does like egg clearings and detoxing on me and things and we found. I mean, I don't know if I told you the last egg cleansing I got in one of the egg formations. It actually had a black witch's broom in it, and so I worked really hard to like whatever negative energy that was, because that wasn't like that wasn't the good witch. That was something really negative and bad. And then of course crystal, and I'm reaching over here because this is my black tourmaline that
very protective crystal.
Absorbs all of the negative, and I keep this on my desk when I'm working with others, just not because they're bad, but people bring, things cling to you. And then also, the other thing is when you're working a lot online, which we all do. And so to protect, because you pick up so much electronic energy from that's negative. Yeah. And I have all these crystals in here. I've been working with this piece of Tibetan quartz. It's really beautiful, to block that. And that seems to be helping a lot in that regard. So, but yeah, those are some of the rituals that I do and you do.
Nice.
So, okay, so how about this one? This was another thing we've been talking about lately is, do you consider yourself more of an intuitive, metaphysical practitioner or academic?
I would say I like to start in academic and get a grasp that way. Like I actually studied the tarot cards, like learning what all the tarot cards traditionally represent. But the more that I get into anything, like now I'm studying channeling, so I can start to, understand what, if I'm not feeling well or what different body parts in me are saying, or even so I can channel other people. And that has a lot more to do with having that intuitive trust in my gifts. Like when I'm reading cards, I don't even feel like it's me that much, but I know what the cards mean, and from talking to the person, just like what comes up. So it's kind of this nice meeting of intuitive and academic. But as I get more skilled, I guess, when I feel like I have a strong grasp of the academic, then I find myself wanting to go more into the intuitive, because I think actually our intuition, right, that's where we're starting to connect into the collective, to like the Akashic record and all that. That's all going to be intuitive.
And I think, I think that it's, for me, and I think there's no wrong way I don't think there's any wrong way to read tarot cards, And then in terms of something like astrology, there's as many ways to read a chart as there are astrologers, I think coming from a very academic background, I feel a strong need to constantly, learn. And maybe because primarily I do astrology and there's like never ending amounts of it to learn. So that
you are a phenomenal student. Like
Kitty
has a certification in everything.
It's like lifelong student, it's that kind of polymath thing. It's like, so it's like, I wanted to find the metaphysical practice that would require the most education, that it would never stop, right?
Yeah.
I found it. But I feel like for me, and I think it's true for a lot of people, that it's kind of like when I taught English, that if you learn the structure, then you can go wild with it. You can't start off just like, for me, it's not true for everyone, but I can't just start off with like free form. I'm going to do whatever I want. It's like, I want to learn how to write the 5-paragraph theme, and then I guess it's like jazz, right? And then you can have deviations on the theme, I think.
And it's like that with painters. Like when I was taught how to paint, it was like, we're going to study the rules and the traditional structure, and then we're going to study famous artists. And then after that, now go off and create your own. Exactly. And I think that is the beautiful thing about these metaphysical studies is it's like, learn these practices that other people, teachers have taught, and then figure out how you can adapt to create even your own processes for healing yourself or healing others.
And from my perspective, any educator or mentor worth their salt is going to tell you that. They're going to say, I will show you what I know, now you take it and run with it. Because, bottom line, if you're talking about spellcrafting, or you're talking about, witchcraft or metaphysical arts, whatever you're talking about, if it does not resonate with you as true, it doesn't matter how by the book you do it, because it won't work, because it's about intention and it won't happen for you. And so like, even, I can learn all day what this aspect means, what this planet means in this house. Okay, that's all fine and good. But if I don't, I guess, you start talking about something like shamanic astrology, but it's like, if I don't resonate, if I don't personify that planet and understand them, so that when I'm working with someone's chart, like you were saying, when you're reading, it's like, I get, it's just channeling, because then you just go off, and that's where the academic meets the intuitive. Mm-hmm. And so for this person, I'm able to see how these lines meet in this intuitive way. And that I think is, I think that's where the gift comes in. And as we were talking about earlier, I think everybody has some form of gift, or to some degree of it. And it's a matter of if you're willing to let it out and be open to it.
Practice it.
And to practice it, and to, and there are things you can do to enhance it if it's something that is there and you don't want to shut it off. Mm-hmm. That it's not like, oh, we're so special because we have gifts. Well, yeah, but I didn't use mine for a long time, I
think that's how I feel about my ability to kind of start to see or become more conscious of the spirit world. Like, it comes and it goes, and sometimes I'm like, off. I do not want the spirit world to be here right now. And then there's another part of me that's like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. There's the real physical world, and then there's the spirit world, and it's really like, I don't need to be scared of it, and I have to build that muscle, in order to allow that ability to open up naturally, like to support it. I really have to support it more as well.
And there are metaphysical workers who, my friend Crystal Duran is one of them, who actually, she specializes in psychotherapy for metaphysical practitioners for that reason. You know, I mean, she's someone who is, as she says, she talks to dead people. I mean, she doesn't hug people because she'll start hearing, you know, and she says they like line up and she has to tell them like, wait your turn. And so she works with other people, helping them to like be able to like filter and shut, you know, and handle that sort of thing, you know, because it is sometimes you're like, okay, that's good, but let me just have 5 minutes.
Can be overwhelming.
Just a few minutes to like, you know, not hear you. And of course, this time of year, and if you're watching this at another time, this is October, this is the time of year when the veil is the thinnest, you know, as we're getting, you know, we're past that autumn equinox, we're headed toward the winter solstice, that veil's getting thinner and thinner. And of course, right at All Souls Day, All Saints Day, Samhain, Halloween, all those festivals were created, Day of the Dead, they were all created at the same time for the same reason. You know, that's when the veil is the thinnest. And we are, you know, we're the closest to the other side. So
yeah, so I would say that for those of you out there who are still like considering getting into the metaphysical, esoteric arts, I would say it's kind of, it can be like a doorway thing, you know, like, oh, I'm getting interested in this one thing, and then it seems like another thing comes up and another thing, you know, you'll develop more insights that maybe you don't even know if you want to have. I do feel like there are choices, though. Like, I feel like right now, personally, it's like, oh, I could become conscious of this spirit world. Do I want to do that? Do I want to continue to pursue that ability, to strengthen that ability? Or is that something I don't want to take on, you know?
Right. And you may not want to take it on now, you may want to take it on later, or you may take it on and decide that I now have all these things going on in my life, you know, my actual physical life here, and have to like,
I've heard you can't shut it off though. Like if you like, once you open up that connection enough with that, with like the spirit world, like you can't, I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can shut it down, but I think you can learn ways to make it not as pronounced, maybe. Just like you can learn ways to open it, I think you can learn ways to like, you know, put an out to lunch sign or something. You know, like kind of pick and choose maybe when it comes in to a certain extent, you know, or there's certain habits you can get into. Like I said, Crystal doesn't hug people, and she'll announce like, I'm not rude, I love you, but I don't hug you. You know, I mean, it's like, because I don't want what that's going to bring to me right now. You know, we're in a session.
Yeah, I know Moss talks a lot about like really going into our body, becoming like very, very, very present inside of our body. Like that's actually a way to strengthen your energy field also. So if you ever feel like something is approaching you energetically and you don't want it, you can also just become very, very aware of like feeling your body, and then also just aware of that energy bubble that's around you, and that can help make sure that they can't come in, because that does happen to some people where they're, you know, possessed. Like people do get possessed.
Yeah, a lot of mental illness is possession. Again, another topic for another day, but interesting what you just said about Maz. When you look at an astrology chart, right, it's broken down into the 12 houses, and if you're having issue in one of them, you look, you know, what's complete, you know, across, what's the diametrical opposition to it, and spend time there, and it helps this one, right? And so interestingly, what you were just saying, you know, if you know, across from the 12th house being, you know, subconscious, shadow work, the veil, you know, the thin veil, all those type of things. And so if you're having trouble in that with those issues, if you go straight across, right, then you come to the 6th house, which is the house of like daily routines. And so it's basically like, go do your work, go wash your dishes, go trim your grass, go get the oil changed in your car, you know, make your to-do list, get to the real practical nuts and bolts of things. And it will like counter that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just like how burnout with this, you go to the subconscious. So that's interesting because astrology's everything. It's right there. It's like you can find everything you need to know. So yeah, but that's a lot of interesting stuff there. We just went through really fast, I think.
Do we have another topic we were going to cover?
We do. So we were going to talk about quickly what our particular metaphysical crafts and abilities are.
Okay.
So okay, so for me, I like you, what's that drug expression? It's the gateway drug. So I guess my gateway drug was astrology. It's like my gateway, when I was a kid and I wanted, I found the planets and, I'm still convinced because Neil Armstrong walked on the moon on my birthday that was for me. And so I'm, anyway, so the planets were my gateway drug. So I've always been into astrology. And I think right after that would probably be tarot cards, And so, astrologer, tarot card reader, crystal healing. Like we both are actually certified crystal healers. I know that. I'm a Reiki master, but I only practice it with cats now because I have reasons, but I work with cats. I can channel cats, so I work with them. Let me see. So I use all of the metaphysics as a shadow and sex therapist, relationship counselor. Or I'm not supposed to say that in Texas. I'm a relationship therapist. Yeah, I'm a therapist. Let me see what else. I kind of dabble in everything, I guess, to a certain degree. I do a lot of work with esoteric Taoist magic. And spell crafting. And so I think that covers the basics, but I think everything bleeds into everything else. I think that the elements are the base, the foundation, and I think astrology was the first magic and the first science, and then everything comes from there. And so it's hard to not be interested in everything. I'm just recently became pretty obsessed with the I Ching. I think the only thing that I'm not interested in are runes. I'm just not, sigil crafting, yeah, but runes have never had a big appeal to me, but I really like the I Ching. So, pendulums, like those. But I really like rocks, rocks and planets. Those are my
crystals favorite. And rocks the same thing? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Crystals are very special rocks.
They are special rocks, and mine know that I love them, and I can't stop buying them. So my downstairs crystal shop loves me too. But then, and I love cards. I love them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm planning on starting, we're just starting our Facebook channels also, and I know I'm going to be doing comparative cards with my favorite deck. So I'm going to be comparing the Rider-Waite to the Star Child's Tarot to the Fountain Tarot. So I'm really excited about starting that series. And I also, tarot cards are, I think, my number one as far as divination stuff goes. I'm learning channeling right now. I'm really excited about learning channeling. I've been channeling my inner children. I just started channeling other people. So I'm excited about that. I'm also haven't decided where I'm going to go with this spirit world thing. When I was Buddhist, I actually learned how to do conscious dying. So apparently one of the problems that we have right now on Earth is that a lot of people don't know how to die properly. And because our religions, frankly, don't teach people how to die. And then, of course, people who are not religious, right, they have no process for dying. So that's why, people who talk about ghosts or spirits and stuff, a lot of times those are actually people who didn't know how to properly cross over. So I've been trying to figure out, since I do have this ability to, or this process that came from Tibetan Buddhism to help die, if I want to try to become more aware of the spirit world so that I can help, like how you were saying Crystal can see dead people and so they're like all lined up. I'm like, Crystal needs to learn conscious dying so she can help them cross over.
Right. One of the like really beautiful, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but when Lou Reed died, right? Mm-hmm. He knew he was dying, and Laurie Anderson, his partner, she talked about afterwards when she finally spoke about it, and she said it was a beautiful death because they had worked ahead of time on his death. I mean, it was inevitable. So they planned for it so that it could be the most beautiful death. And he worked, he did Tai Chi. And so, like, he did a lot of the, mudras at the end. And
mudras, yeah.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be, and I thought, shouldn't it be that way always? Shouldn't we be able to, move people in that? We live in this state of denial that it's not going to happen to us. And I think that because we lose out on so much.
Sex and death. What's our deal? Like we can't just deal with them straightforwardly.
And I don't understand.
We make them a conspiracy. When they're
I
so natural. Like what is everybody... What did everybody go through to be born? Everybody was like in the process, sex is like so normal and everybody dies and yet they're so taboo.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk all day about our chocolate addiction or something, or being an alcoholic. I mean, I don't know, but it's very strange to me.
But besides that,
it's a lie. We are all going to cross over, and I myself would rather go in a nice way if it's at all possible.
But with people who are alive, I also really like doing like using Teal Swan's completion process, which is a combination of shadow work, inner child healing, and shamanistic practices to basically heal childhood traumas, which everybody has. Everybody is traumatized. Like I know we like to think, no, I'm really sure I'm not traumatized. Yes, you are. You are.
Yeah, everybody's traumatized. I mean, in some way or another, and it's not usually anyone to blame. I mean, it's hard to get through this life unscathed. I mean, how do you do it? There's too many sharp edges.
Yeah. And then art therapy. So like with clients, like those live clients, those are the things that tarot cards, completion process
I love it
type
that you
methods.
said it with my live clients as opposed to my dead ones.
Right. I'm still thinking about if I'm going to take on dead clients. I'm trying to figure it out.
My live clients, and I do that too. It's like with those wounds that everybody has. I mean, that's something that's in our astrology chart, is that we all have Chiron, right? Mm-hmm. Chiron's our deepest wound. Mm-hmm. That's from a very young age, or even from in utero, or possibly from a karmic lifetime, from a past life. But we all have it. We all have a Chiron that we have to turn our deepest wound around to our greatest asset for the collective. And so I do a lot of that. I think, of course, I do, a lot of work with, relationship issues and all the things people want to know about. But the things that I feel are not the most important, but the idea of working with your deepest wound in your life's purpose.
Yeah, because basically the reason our energy bubbles are susceptible to people coming into them is when we have unhealed trauma, right? So the more unhealed trauma we have, the easier it is for us to be possessed or controlled or whatever. So I know I've been doing the completion process with my shaman, Julia, for like 3 years, and I haven't been directly trained in it. I've just done it so many times that I can do it really well for other people.
Okay, so I chose the garnet for the gemstone to use for the meditation tonight, because we're sitting in the midst of Venus retrograde. And people hear the word retrograde and they flip out because everyone's so used to Mercury retrograde. And that means that my car's going to break down and my phone's going to lose my messages. And, but Venus retrograde is a little different. It's about going into and reflecting on what brings you love and beauty in your life. The important things, love, beauty, passion. And are we getting enough of those? And if we're not, where are we missing out? And it's a time when a lot of our exes, be it work exes or, partnership exes, there's our timer, step back in. And so for us to reflect and either go, wow, I really did miss that bullet. Look how good I'm doing now without that in my life anymore. Or now we can be that we couldn't be before. So anyway, one thing I wanted to tell you, we talked about before, is that during Venus retrograde, you don't want to do anything that is drastic. So
beauty-wise, right? Beauty-wise.
Well, any-wise. It's not a time you want to run off to Vegas and get married. Oh. No matter how fantastic that guy seems, your ex, they're the one that got away shows back up on your doorstep, and you jump on a plane and you're on your way to Vegas. It's probably not a good idea. You want to wait until after November the 17th and rethink it, because we have our rose-colored glasses on too for what's in front of us right now. So this is also why we don't need to go do any big changes beauty-wise. Okay, this is not the time for the new haircut, the new style, spending $1,000 on new clothes. We won't like them, come December. Just sit tight with all of that. Please, 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 no cosmetic surgery.
What about starting a new job? Does it matter starting a new job?
If it's presented to you and you need the job, sure, take it. If you can wait and job hunt, well, here's the bad news is when Venus retrograde ends, Mercury retrograde will begin. And we all know not to take any job or sign any papers during Mercury retrograde.
Right.
I would say
now is better than later.
Wait till January, if you can. If you need a job, you get off the job, take the job, But definitely don't go, do any nip tuck or new drastic haircuts. It's perfectly fine to get your regular maintenance done. So if you need your hair trimmed, do it before the full moon. Don't ever, ever, ever cut your hair unless you're trying to not have it grow. If you've got a cute, edgy haircut and you don't want it to grow fast, then definitely that's when you trim it. It's between the full moon and the new moon. Otherwise, don't cut your hair after the full moon until we get past the next new moon.
Well, thank you for those beauty tips.
Growing of the moon, it'll grow faster. So, age-old wisdom. Okay, so are you ready? So the garnet is the crystal of love. It is the love crystal of all of them, over ruby, over diamond, over everything. The garnet is the sacred, purest crystal of love, which is why it was chosen here in Libra season with Venus retrograde in Scorpio. So with all of this love and sex and hope and dreams going on. So are you going to take it away for us, Kat?
Yes, I will. Okay. So I have my garnet crystal here. It is a dark, deep red color, which connects with our root chakra. So in this meditation, I'm going to be focusing on our grounding energies into the earth, particularly. So this meditation that we're sending out is going to send out healing energy to any of our listeners who are open to receiving it. So I'm going to lead us in this quick meditation. Okay? All right. So first, we want to close our eyes, and then through our nose, take a deep breath, imagining that we're pulling energy from the earth's core up into our heart. And then that we're exhaling that energy up to pure source. Now I'm going to inhale energy from pure source back down into my heart. And then as I exhale, I'm going to focus on that energy bubble around my body and that I'm holding this garnet crystal. So now I'm going to tune into the energy of the crystal. And imagine my root chakra, which is also a red color. Imagine my root chakra spinning. And this deep red energy from the crystal garnet and my root chakra, that they're connecting. And that the garnet is sending its strength and healing love energy into my root chakra. And ultimately into my entire energy bubble. So again, I'm going to set the intention to connect my root chakra with the earth energy. So imagine my root chakra energy going down, going through the earth, through the layers of the earth, all the way into the earth's core. Moving with all the lava of the earth. All that powerful, rich, raw, natural energy. So the intention of this meditation is to purify any energy blocks, to release them as they exit our energy field. And for our spirit to feel nourished by the earth, by the crystal, and through the healing process. All right, so when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Bye!
Bye.